Welcome to part 3 of my developer diary for creating my first ever piece of software that's going to essentially allows people to create and manage templates outside of their DAW environment and then import those configured templates in using the DAW project format into the supported DAW of their choice. In the last video I showed you some of the bare bones stuff working. Over the last day or so I've made significant progress when it comes to handling tracks in the list, how they group, how you can reorder them. So I'm going to show you that all, and then also talk you through some of the other things that I'm working on with it at the moment. And I just thought it'd be cool to document this all. Why not? Chuck it out there, and then you guys can give me feedback as I'm building it, if there's anything you'd like to see added in, X, Y, Z. So first of all, here over in what I'm now calling DAWBuddy, you can tell me if that's a shit name or not, but that's what it's called. We can obviously, we've got some tracks already created here. If I want to add more tracks in, I can go add track, and I can type out what I want for these. So VLM1, X, Y, Z. And I can delete individual tracks by clicking the X. I can group select these, or multi-select should I say, and delete them all if I want to. But what I want to do with these tracks is assign them to a group, which is what I showed you before, but now this is a lot better and works how I wanted it to in the first place. So if I hit G on the keyboard, I can type out brass for the brass group here. And if I select strings, we'll create a strings group. Now we can assign colors to all of the tracks in the group, like so. We can rename the group if we want. We can also reorder the hierarchy of the tracks in the group, either individually or if you do a multi-select as well, we can do that. And it all kind of works as I want it to. We can also collapse and expand to the groups, so we can only view them in this state, and we can reorder these as well if we want. And it will update in the top bar here. And if you want to, you can also take tracks out of one group and just chuck them in another group like so, and it will automatically update the info to tell you how many tracks are in that group, which is all really cool. But the main thing for me is that I've got a lot of experience when it comes to building templates, and I totally understand how much of a pain in the arse it is. So I'm trying to build something that is less of a pain in the arse to work with. Let's say I've got a load of tracks in this, all set up in different groups, and then I decide that I don't like the hierarchy of the project and I want to put it in, I don't know, score order, or I just want to just move things around so it makes more sense. Then we can come up here to the groups that we created and we can just move them around in the top bar. And there you go. Sweet. Now I've also added this little button here, which allows you to dissolve the group. You can do it from down here, but I'm going to remove this. It's called Unfolder. It was called something much more vulgar. But this will get removed because the functionality is essentially built in up here. But let's say I want to dissolve this group. I'll just click on that. Oops, let me do that again. There we go. Might have to check that. But it dissolves it. Or if I want to, I can completely delete a group and all of its nested items as well by clicking on the X. So I can get rid of all the brass here if I wanted to. Pretty sweet. So it's 99% there. It's just a couple of little things, behaviors that I need to fix. Now over here you might have noticed these little drop down menus, and over there what I want to do with these is make it so you can select what VST sampler you want to have preloaded onto one of the tracks in the list, whether it's Contact, Opus, or whatever it is you're using. Now someone asked me in the last video, is it possible to have the patches preload as well? And the straight answer to that is no. There is a way to do it that I've got working, but it's not ideal, because essentially what you're doing is recreating actions you would perform with your mouse and keyboard in the DAW, excuse me. And the trouble with that is, for every DAW, it's got its own set of functions and workflow and how it operates, and trying to recreate, actions for each DAW, not only is it could be done, it's going to be a massive ball ache, because you need to be able to accurately track mouse movements, accurately track what it sees on the screen when it knows it's selected, any UI windows and their IDs. It's just a massive pile of shit that you really don't want to step in, and having to create something for every single DAW is going to be a lot of work. What I'm hoping for is that if I can get this software to a really good working standard with a lot of functionality, that I might be able to approach some devs that have their own samplers and say, look, how can we build this into what I'm making and getting it working, and that does it in a way that's safe and local on the person's machine. That's something I'll have to figure out in the future, and if this becomes a massive thing that people want to use. Now, moving on from that, down here you'll see there's now a chat box that I've just temporarily added in. And what this will allow us to do is, once you've set up all the tracks in the project, you'll be able to just export them either as enabled instrument tracks or disabled instrument tracks, which is useful because if you've got samplers preloaded, having them disabled means it's going to load a lot quicker. However, there is a caveat to enabled and disabled tracks and how it works in the DAW project format. And it's to do when folders enter the equation. If I'm in Cubase and I create a folder track and I put a load of instrument tracks inside of that folder that are enabled, then export that as a DAW project and open it up in another DAW like Studio One, it will show you the folder and the tracks inside. Perfect. Now, where it gets a bit crap is, let's say in Cubase, I decided to disable those tracks that are inside the folder, export the DAW project and open it up in Studio One, or even back into Cubase. What you'll find is that the folder will be there, but all the disabled tracks get completely removed from when the project file's written. So there's an issue there. However, what's weird is that if I don't use folder tracks and I export disabled tracks and open them up in another project, they import correctly. So for me, it seems that the DAW project format still needs obviously a lot of things doing to it to allow for that capability. So I'm hoping in the future that they do add that in, because then that means I can build it into my tool. Now the other thing, what is it? Is there another thing I can show you or talk about at the moment? I mean, I showed you the Get Names tool. I'm going to be working more on that. I've got loads of ideas. I won't list them all in this video, but this is where we're at the moment after a day's progress. Well, a day and a quarter's progress since the last upload. But what I will tell you, like for most consumers that use software, like I respect developers a lot and what they do in coders and all that kind of thing, but it gives, when you're trying to build something yourself like this, it gives you an insight into how much of a ball ache it can be just to implement the simplest of functions in your software. And like, I spent the whole day yesterday trying to get that group tracks and list things working, because the way I was approaching it before was just causing problems, and it took me so much time to try and figure out a different way to do it, just for moving some tracks around. And I'm not looking forward I'm really not looking forward to other days where I've got to try and go back to the drawing board with it, but hopefully there won't be too many of those. But anyway, we'll leave the video there for now, and I'll keep you guys updated as I make more progress on the tool and uploading it, and you can give me your feedback on what you'd like to see and what could possibly be implemented. Essentially, I just want this to be the dog's nuts,